everyone, my name is Bridget and welcome to my channel. For today's video, we are doing a fresh new take on a video that I actually did about 9 months ago, and that is making DIY reptile hides. In that particular video, you saw us make a really huge cave piece for our Uromastyx cheeks. And that cave looked like this. You can see it has a nice little burrow there in the center, a sort of ramp there to the left, and then stairs to the right. Now this cave piece was great at first. He did use it a lot, but it quickly became apparent that it wasn't exactly the right fit for him, so we redesigned it. And here's his new cave. It doesn't have any levels that go up or down on either side. It's just a very large, spacious burrowing cave. He basically stopped climbing, and when he did climb, he would often fall, which could easily injure him because he does have a past with metabolic bone disease, as I stated in that previous video. So we made this safer version for him. We also made a similar cave for our adult female bearded dragon, Phoebe. Hers is just a humongous corner cave that she can sleep in, hang out on top of, and also use as an egg laying box during egg laying season. Now, with all that being said, in the time that this video has been up, it has gotten a lot of attention, which I greatly appreciate. But the hide that we made in it, as well as these other two hides, are meant for larger species of reptile. Therefore, we wanted to create a few options for some of your smaller species of reptile, as well as adding the new and improved detailing style that we now use for all of our hides. So in today's video, we are making 3 separate style hides that can accommodate smaller species of reptile. That includes, but is not limited to, terrestrial geckos, juvenile snakes, smaller species of snakes. I'm gonna go through the entire process from start to finish, showing you guys how these hides were built and each step that it took to complete them. But there's also a little surprise for this video. Are you ready? It is a giveaway! We have decided to give away 2 of the hides that you're gonna see in this video. One winner will be chosen here on YouTube and the other winner will be chosen on Instagram. So make sure that you are a supporter of both accounts so that you have 2 separate chances of winning one of the hides. The rules for this giveaway are going to be at the end of this video, so be sure to stick around to the end to see how you can enter to win. But before we get started on the actual build of these hides, I do have a little tiny bit more information that I want to share with you guys. So you are welcome to skip ahead if you don't want to hear this information, but I do want to make it known that we are doing something different with these hides that we didn't do with the previous video's hide. We decided that we weren't going to decorate these hides to the extent that we would decorate our personal hides. And this is just because every person is an individual with their style and their preference. So since this is a giveaway and some of you guys could be adding one of these hides to one of your enclosures, I wanted to keep it a little bit more simple by not adding any rocks or fake plants. We are just going to be painting the hides. But I mean, if you were to make one of these hides on your own, it would be pretty simple for you to add those extra elements on your own. Now, when it comes to you guys following along and trying to make a hide for yourself, I do want to share a few little quick tips with you before you get started. Number 1, it is much easier to take away material than it is to add material. So definitely take your time. Number 2, every single surface on the cave that you are building has got to be textured in order for the grout to stick. You have to make sure that every single nook and cranny is sanded down to give texture for that grout to stick onto. And number 3, I highly recommend you guys wear a mask while you're doing this. This entire process is very messy and those little particles get everywhere, so it's just better to be safe than sorry. Now, my husband is a rebel and he chose not to wear a mask during this process, so you guys are more than welcome to leave him some kind but constructive comments, letting him know what a safety hazard it was. Anyways, okay, let's get on to the builds. Again, the rules for the giveaway are going to be at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around to see how to enter. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Have fun if you're going to make a hide for yourself, and good luck. All right, so here are all the materials we have used for this project. We have 3 sheets of the Foamular 2x2 project panels, which are each about an inch thick. For gluing the foam, we like to use the Hotwire Foam Factory's Foam Fusion Glue. It's just really strong and we really like it. For filling in any gaps, we use the Great Stuff Gaps and Cracks spray foam, pretty standard in this community. For our sealant, we like to use the Varathane water-based polyurethane sealant spray in crystal clear satin. For covering the hides, we use sanded grout, and we always opt for the poly blend sanded grout. And there are lots of colors in this grout, but we typically go for the light smoke color. Kind of has a tan vibe, kind of has a gray vibe. It just matches a lot of the decor that we use. Here are the brushes we use to apply the grout. For painting our hides and giving them character, we use this set of acrylic paint by Master's Touch, and then these brushes that are meant for painting with acrylic paint. Then, here are all the tools we have used for this project. We have measuring tape, of course, gotta know our measurements. We use a Dremel for these projects, so we first have a spiral bit here, as well as the wrench that is used for swapping out the bits. Then we have these sanding bits, which had to be replaced throughout use because they do get worn down, of course. So we like to have a lot of them on hand. Then we have this router bit as well, which I forgot to show in the original tool footage, but here it is. We also use these Xacto knives that we have in varying shapes and sizes, which is how we cut the raw foam. Then we have our Dremel, of course, which also has varying speeds and a flexible extension shaft. This is important to us. It may not be important to you, but it definitely makes things easier when you can change the speed and have a little bit of flexibility there. And last but not least, we have our Sharpee Marker so that we know what the heck we're making. To begin our project, here are the rough plans I drew up so that my husband could create the hides that I wanted. We're first making a dome style hide, which I wanted to be around 7 to 8 inches in diameter with a little bit of character and about 5 inches tall. Then we are making a corner style hide, which I wanted to be around 7 inches on both sides, going up in stair-like levels and around 5 inches tall. And finally, we are making a log style hide, which I wanted to be around 7 inches long, about 5 inches wide, with a bit of character, and about 4 inches tall. So let's go ahead and start with the dome style hide. First, he drew the base shape of the hide using the Sharpie, and then he cut it out of the foam using the Xacto knives. He then continued to draw out similar shapes in order to stack the pieces together. As he was going along, he created somewhat smaller pieces so that as he went up, they became smaller, which creates that dome shape. Once he had all the pieces cut out, he labeled them so he knew where to glue them, and then he began stacking them together and gluing as he went along. Once every piece was glued, we moved the hide to the floor and placed a heavy slate tile on the top to weigh the pieces down while the glue dried. Next, we'll move on to the corner style hide. Very similar process here. He first drew long straight pieces of the foam to create the back corner structure. Then he drew the main shape of the corner hide that he could kind of play off of for the rest of the build. He then stacked the straight pieces along the sides to build it up and glued them in place as he went along. He also brought them further in from one another to create the stair-like effect that I wanted. Next, he created the curved front levels and glued them in place as well. The same concept applies here. He created a stair-like gradient. Finally, he added the hide's top and covered up the large holes that were visible from the outside of the hide. Once every piece was glued, again, we moved the hide to the floor and placed slate tile on the top to weigh it down. Finally, we'll do the log style hide. Again, very similar process. He first drew half-moon shaped pieces of very similar sizes over and over to create a long log style structure. He added a few varying shapes for some dimension as he went along. And once every shape was cut, he labeled them so he knew where to glue, stacked them up sideways, and then he glued them together. Same thing here. Once every piece was glued, we moved the hide to the floor and placed slate tile on the top to weigh it down. And here are the 3 hides completed in structure. The glue has dried for a full 24 hours, and we are ready to move on to the creative process. Starting with the dome hide again, he first used the spiral bit to cut out the hide's opening into a rough shape. Then he used the router bit to roughly cut away the majority of the surface edges and create unique shapes within the structure. After that, he swapped over to the sanding bit on a lower speed level to gently smooth out the edges even more and to roughen up every single surface inside and out so that the grout could stick to the foam. Here's a little vacuum break. Gentlemen, make sure you vacuum your beard. And here is the dome hide completed in its shape and style. Next, we'll move on to the corner hide again. For this one, we had to spray some of the expanding spray foam into the gaps because this style of hide can often have a lot of gaps that need to be filled before moving forward. Alright, after the spray foam had dried, we were able to move on to the sanding and shaping. For this hide as well, he had used the spiral bit to cut out the hide's opening. Then he moved on to the router bit to roughly cut down the extra foam into a nicer shape. And then he used the sanding bit again on a lower speed level to gently sand down every surface as mentioned before. He also went along on this design and created some unique shapes and features. He also decided to remove the little cave lip he originally had and decided to have it be open all the way down. And here is the corner hide completed in its shape and style. Finally, we'll move on to the log hide again. First, he used the router bit to roughly cut away parts of the hide and to even out a lot of the bottom edges. Then he used the sanding bit on a lower speed level to gently smooth the edges and create some unique shapes and features once again. And here is the log hide completed in its shape and style. And we are ready to move on to the grouting process. First up, he mixed the grout. Nothing was measured here, he just eyeballed it, but he made what he felt was enough for one layer of grout and turned it into the consistency of a thinnish pancake batter. Once that was ready, he began painting on the first layer of grout. Remember that when grouting these hides, it is important to cover every single inch and every single surface inside and out. You don't want any of the material underneath to be exposed, otherwise any other layer you add or any sealant you cover it with won't lay down correctly and could compromise the structure. So once he got as much covered that he could cover using his hands, he then propped the hide onto a few pieces of extra foam so that he could finish the painting process and so that the inside of the hide had an opportunity to dry. He did this for all 3 hides, and then we left them alone for a full 24 hours to dry. After the hides had dried for 24 hours, we added the second layer of grout in the exact same way and then left them alone to dry for another full 24 hours. After the hides dried for another 24 hours, we added the third layer of grout, but we smoothed out the surface with a brush and a little bit of water while the grout was still a bit wet. This helps to remove a lot of the brush strokes and to give the hides a more sandy texture. Once again, we left them alone to dry for a final full 24 hours. And here are the 3 hides completed in their grouting. Everything is nice and solid, and we are ready to move on to the decorating process as well as the finishing touches. Alright, now it's time to paint. I let my husband go wild on this part because I get way too self-critical and would end up just totally tossing the entire project. But we both knew we wanted somewhat of a naturalistic feel with a bit of dirt looking vibes and a bit of moss looking vibes. Here are the colors he mixed up to get the shading color he wanted. So he first wanted to do some shading in some of the deeper crevices of each of the hides. This is pretty basic. He didn't go ham on anything because he's not an artist, but he wanted to just give that extra touch of detail in each of the cracks. Once he did that, he mixed up a highlighting color and began covering some of the more protruding edges to make them pop a bit more. After that, he started adding some of the dirt and moss patches all over to tie in what a natural rock cave would have on its surface. He did this for all 3 hides, of course, which I didn't record every single hide, but here you can see the finished product of the dome style hide, the finished product of the corner style hide, and the finished product of the log style hide. And now it is time to seal them. So we took the hides outside and we sprayed a layer of the sealant over each of the hides inside and out and set them on the porch to dry. It looks weird when it's wet, but it doesn't dry that way. We did a total of 3 layers of sealant with a drying time of 1 hour between layers, and then they were done. Tell me these hides don't look really, really cool. Well, alright guys, that is how we have built these 3 super cool reptile hides for your smaller and medium sized reptiles. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm sure you are very ready to learn about the rules of this giveaway. So to enter this YouTube giveaway, you first must be subscribed to my channel. You need to be following me on Instagram, and you need to leave me a comment down below letting me know which hide you would like to win, what type of animal you would use it for if you did win, and also leave your Instagram handle so that I can easily contact you. This giveaway will be open for exactly 2 weeks after the publishing of this video, and then I will contact the winner within the following week. And I wish you guys luck. So that's gonna be it for my video today, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy this video, please give us a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button on your way out. I really appreciate it. Also hit the notification bell so you can know when I upload next, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!